we kind of go into the anatomy podcast. Now, I do apologize to the boys in Cell because they were meaning to have me send over some scripted questions for the session, but simply said, I will be as broad as possible while also just making it to where the commentary, the answers provided by the band, person by person throughout all 5 of the members, isn't so convoluted and a mental clusterfuck that we are here for 5 complicated hours as opposed to 4 different, just combined, thought out, processed hours. But welcome again, everybody, to what will be episode 67 of the Anatomy podcast, hosted by yours truly, Sean Cross and
Ben the Old King.
There we go. Yeah, that's how we do it, baby. So, welcome to session, everybody. Absolutely fantastic to be here, to be hosting a band, and to be doing something new episode by episode, listening to an EP live with the band, and then getting right into session. So, the first half of the podcast usually will consist of the more David Attenborough part, where basically we're looking to dig in as far as we are able to and as far as the band members are comfortable with into their personal lives, kind of understand their story from the beginning of what they feel is relevant to them being a creator, to them being a musician, and to them being a member of Cell. So in this first half of the session, we will be taking as much time as you boys need. I know there was quite a bit of a delay today as well, a little bit of a rescheduling thing going on, but nonetheless, we are here. We are ready to tell some stories. We're ready to learn about Cell on counterculture, deep underground countercultures, best documentary podcast established April 22nd, 2021, starting with our boys Into the Grave over in Australia. So starting off, whoever wishes to go first, if we want to briefly enact frontman syndrome and have your vocalist go first, that's completely fine. But basically what we will be looking to do, what we will be looking to do is have all of you kind of take it from the beginning. The earliest point you feel is relevant to you being a musician, a musical personality. Kind of provide us your name, what you do for the band, and we'll kind of dot along the lineup and then proceed from that point, boys.
Cool, right on. I'm Skylar. I do vocals.
I'm Ernesto. I play bass.
I'm Ty. I do guitar and backup vocal. I'm Matt. I play the other guitar. Cameron play drums.
Fantastic. All right. Well, thank you, boys, for providing kind of a more elementary introduction, right? Standing up before the class, presenting yourself, your first impressions to a body of about maybe 20 to 45. In this case, with our audience count being about the same. Thank you for introducing yourselves. And whoever wishes to get started, basically, reintroduce yourself, but then let's go beyond that elementary introduction, right? Let's go ahead and dig a little bit into your background, who you are, how you got into the role that you fulfill for this project. And then basically, like, you can take up to 10, 20 minutes doing this, basically. No pressure, take all the time you need. But let's go ahead and learn as much about you guys as we possibly can tonight.
Cool. Yeah, I'm Skylar. I grew up in Yukon, Oklahoma, but I'm based out of Oklahoma City. Just got into heavy music. I was introduced to Bring Me the Horizon back in like 2011 by my older cousin. And I was like listening to their shit and I was like, I want to learn how to do that. So I started teaching myself how to do vocals. Went through a bunch of bands growing up and stuff. And then we started Cell as a side project, me and one of my buddies back in, I think, 2021. And it just started gaining traction and people liked it.
Damn good year for music.
What's up?
Damn good year for music.
Yeah, for sure. And then this is where we're at now, man. I book shows out here with a bunch of friends from Backroom Productions. So we take a lot of like the touring acts that come through Oklahoma. Pretty prominent, and I work in a print shop, Backroom print shop with my buddy Stevo.
Oh shit! So you're the guy behind the shorts I'm wearing right now.
Yeah, probably.
Nice.
Either me or Steven, yeah. But yeah, that's pretty much it, dude. I started doing it when I was like 12 or 13. And
Okay.
I'm not. Yeah, dude. Pushing 25 now. I've been doing it for a long time and happy to be where I'm at.
Hell yeah, dude. And you mentioned backroom backroom production. So like if anything, as we're attempting to pay homage to your other efforts, as you are also the front man, you are the singer for Cell, and you are also kind of a local, like you're kind of the local organizer, right? You help get all these shows together, you help shine some spotlight on other Oklahoma local acts. So kind of getting into that, like first I would want to learn about backroom productions.
Yeah, so backroom production started I think early last year or maybe a little bit later into 2022. It was just a couple of us and we had some buddies. They play in a band called No Zodiac. I'm sure you guys are familiar with them.
AZ local, baby.
Yeah. We got an offer from them because they were looking to just get a one-off show. We took it and booked the show at this like random warehouse in Southside OKC and expected maybe like 20 to 40 kids to be there. And the first show that we did, there was about like 250 kids packed in there.
Damn, bro.
And it was just like kind of a random thing that happened. And then my buddy Chuan kind of took the reins on it. So he's the one who, like, if bands are coming through, they kind of connect with him and he books them and gets like the guarantees settled and all of that stuff while we're just like, you know, running the show, helping like bands load in, load out, we security the show, whatever. If we're playing, typically I'll stay at the merch table because that's a job in itself. But yeah, man, it's just been blossoming into something more and more every day, and it's really cool to see it happening.
No, that's fantastic, dude. That's badass. Like, not many people can say that not only do they have a prominent act that's gaining following, it's gaining reception, it's gaining a reputation in your local area, but on top of that, you are at the forefront of making sure that other Oklahoma bands that are inspired by yourself or inspired by touring artists, they also have that equal opportunity at your hands to go ahead and make their presence known, as if they're a fucking ghost or something in an abandoned asylum. It's like, make a presence known. It's like, we are Sledge, or we are Bashed In, motherfucker. And they also have an EP coming out, so please listen to it. And that's basically what yesterday was. But I only really daydreamed about doing something very similar to that for AZ local band projects, not actual bands, but band projects back in the day. So it's really cool to see that you manifested that. One, you networked. Two, and three, you didn't exactly have a toxic relationship with your local area. You embraced it, right? I'm sure that in your upbringing you were able to appreciate, because I'm not too familiar with Oklahoma, right? I've only really skyrocketed through there on the major interstate on my way to and on the way back from Tennessee when I was living there. So like my impression of Oklahoma is mainly just trees and a whole bunch of like flat plain landscape. Not plain as in like boring, but actual plains, right? It's a very hilly like Tennessee, but like bands like yourself are starting to make an impression and they're starting to bring relevance to the deep underground counterculture world that is blossoming with its Oklahoma chapter. So if anything too, you mentioned earlier that one of your bigger, I can only assume, vocal inspirations as well as musical inspirations would have been Bring Me the Horizon. And listening to that EP, getting a first impression of a longer effort done by you boys, I definitely got more like Storm Strope or even Matt Honeycutt vibes from your vocal spectrum. So perhaps over time, did your of course your aspiration, your inspiration from Oliver Sykes, like where did it branch off into vocally speaking, if it did?
I think like Bring Me the Horizon was like a band, like that was the band that like introduced me when they were still in their deathcore era. That was like kind of what introduced me to like heavier stuff like that, because when I was growing up, like my mom was like listening to like POD and Limp Bizkit and Linkin Park, so like the typical fucking generic bands that made it really big, which I respect them with everything in me. But that was like what kind of set me to like want to learn more about like the underground metal scene. And so I started like going to shows and stuff like that. But yeah, Storm from Last 10, that was another band that I was introduced to when I was really young, which was crazy because it came full circle and we got to tour with them, and now they're some
That's
of our, like,
badass,
friend.
dude.
But yeah, Storm was like a very big inspiration on me because I kind of wanted to do like the higher end stuff, but my voice was more like kind of fluctuating towards like the lower end. Which is why
I can even hear right now.
Yeah, like I'm prominently like a lower tone bass vocalist. It's just more comfortable for me. I'll still do highs and stuff, but only like very briefly. Like it's not
Yeah,
crazy.
you'll do it for the live to give a little cock tease to the cell fans. It's like I can do highs, but I'm just gonna have the backup vocalist do it in session.
Yeah, I like being the guttural king, bro.
Good shit, dude.
Yeah, man.
Finn, did you have any? Yeah. You go ahead.
I was saying I definitely picked up like early 2000s like Acacia vibes.
Oh yeah.
Or like maybe like some Despised Icon kind of vibes, like that really down tempo-y, like just fucking stomp around the floor kind of vibe. Like definitely picked that up, and that was very refreshing for me, especially because I grew up in that era. You know, I was 18, 19 years old, like in that era of deathcore and like the MySpace era of that kind of stuff. And beat down and down tempo was like just really starting to make the surface of things where like people were starting to figure it out. And then nobody can forget, you know, the whole, you know, Acacia Muir beef back in like the early 2000s shit. So like that was the whole thing too. But no, that was definitely refreshing. That's really all I had to say about that. As far as that goes, it's just a very refreshing thing to hear something that like was almost like nostalgic to me, but like with a huge dash of like modern.
Yeah, because we definitely get like a lot of people like kind of like when they talk to us about like if they like listen to like our old EP Sadistic Sounds or the new one, you know what I'm saying? Like they always kind of send it back to like you guys sound like you should have been then type of shit, but now you're like here making it like come back, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
For sure.
Reincarnating it, baby.
Yeah.
I can definitely hear it. For sure.
Fuck yeah, man. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah. That was nostalgic.
Oh yeah.
And one thing I did want to say too, Skylar, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I was about to say Tyler. I would have felt so bad.
But
nonetheless,
it's either Tyler or I get Skylar with an A, dude.
Oh yeah,
Skylar. Yeah, hate that shit. Fucking hate it.
Skylar seriously said, "Let's go ahead and remove the K. That's our band name. That's it, bro. That's it." But one thing I did want to say too, and from a marketing standpoint, not that I have any official education, any degrees, any certificates in marketing, but one thing I also did want to say is despite how deep in guttural and even MySpace era deathcore, like just deep, just fucking like, despite all of that, you are very articulated. Like for the most part, of course, I'm going to have to refresh myself on the EP once it reaches public domain, or even just to do homework as we're getting closer to what will be the official release for this podcast, the front to back session, whatever, as well as your EP, the original publishing. It's very important to me that despite the culture that comes with it, almost the accent that is beatdown vocals, slam vocals, deathcore vocals, and how many people find a fascination towards it because of how animalistic, how demonic, how primitive it might sound. I think the next step after that is honing it into being articulated. And you do that really, really well. So I wanted to I wanted to add that commentary early on. And of course, really live. Again, the only reason I couldn't pinpoint what you were saying is because at that point, Cell was still like brand new to me. But I'm like, who the fuck are these guys? These guys sound solid. This is good. I want to kick some kid's ass. Like, kick at the kid at Kmart. Hallelujah.
Oh yeah.
But of course. Continuing a little bit for sure, we now have mentioned Backroom Productions. We've mentioned your contributions to your local scene, getting involved as much as possible, and then of course for your EP release show, amongst other efforts over time. As Cell, this is not the debut EP from Cell. This is the second EP, but this is that second impression. This is kind of like that second date with the music industry for you guys, being that you've put the effort into this project that you have. What are some other like Oklahoma local acts that you yourself would easily recommend to individuals like ourselves as far as listening to, or even just bands, maybe hometown heroes that you've seen over the years reach up into the ranks? Because like I said, I'm not that familiar with the Oklahoma scene, and there's never really been, at least for me, a prominent band that's like, we're from Oklahoma, motherfucker. It's like, oh, okay. Like, are there any hometown heroes or maybe any new acts that you hope to see climb the ranks one day?
I love getting this question because I get to like put my friends on and shout them out. There's a fuckload. So obviously Peeling Flesh, those are our best friends. We got Inside You, Bastion, Sledge, there's Agony, and then you got the youngins and like Defiled, Fungus, some other ones. Ty's got a few projects with Cam. They're in a band called Antipath, and it's like kind of like it's like metalcore, but it's really fucking sick. And Ty plays good. Well, that's his other band, but he does vocals in that. And then Vantar Tax. Yeah, that's like a mathcore band.
It's actually sick that there's still mathcore bands trying to rise up into the ranks too. I thought that was kind of a dead genre.
Tyke is
trying to revive it.
Tyke is the fucking mathcore fucking god, bro. Like that's all he does is listen to that shit. But yeah, like some old bands that are from here that I feel like are bands that were like pretty like detrimental to my upbringing in Oklahoma is Shame. Shame is one of those. If you look them up, look up The Only One by Shame. That's their old EP. That's like what, that was the shit back in the day.
Right.
And all of those members are now in a band called Inside You. So.
Okay. Right.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Cool.
Yeah.
That's actually really cool. So not only did you grow up and you had an upbringing in Oklahoma listening to these hometown heroes, but not only that, one of them has now reincarnated into something that is like kind of following along the path that you're trying to quite directly by opening up for you guys. Like that's not that's not something that every musician or everybody, any person trying to get into this industry can say on a regular basis. Not often do you hear about, for example, here in Arizona, maybe the Word Alive reincarnating into the Word Dead or some shit. I don't know. I'm just improvising. Or even Job for a Cowboy, because that's another AZ local. They're from over in Glendale, which is a pretty good chunk of distance for me. But
I think we've passed through Glendale, I think once or twice on the tour.
Sick.
Yeah.
Well, let's see. So we've asked you quite a bit of questions, and after all, there are 4 other gentlemen to attend to, and this is something. This is something I definitely. There's definitely something I like to check in on, and this is just in time, maybe your most recently listened albums, artists, that type of thing. But most importantly, what I want to ask you, Skylar, is as far as everything you have done so far for Cell, throughout its 2 EPs and standalone singles per se, what are, if you're able to pinpoint them, what are, with 5 categories or 5 slots, your 5 top albums, artists, genres, songs, or even people that have helped you continue on the path that you have been on for such a long time?
Fuck. I know.
My favorite thing to ask, because everyone's like, fuck.
Just just like albums that like I listen to and artists and stuff like that.
Yeah, maybe your like favorite album of all time, favorite EP. Like you can do those major categories if you really wish. I know I could not pinpoint my 5 favorite albums, let alone my 5 favorite genres. So I'll tell you what, in the future, if anybody asks me this question, I'm gonna be like, what genre though? What band?
Dude, that's such a like hard question to answer because I have so many like favorite albums and bands. I listen to like, I don't know if you guys know who like Griselda is. They're a rapper based out of the East Coast.
No.
That's like me and Maddie shit. We listen to that all the time. I like a lot of like shoegaze and like grunge stuff.
Ooh, okay.
So, yeah.
What's your favorite shoegaze artist?
Shoegaze, bro. I wouldn't like consider them shoegaze, but there's a band called Mood Ring from Florida.
Yes, I love Mood Ring, bro.
So Hunter Young, like I've known him for a while. He worked on my last band's record, and he's fucking sick. He's in Psycho Frame too. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with them.
Yes.
Yeah,
they're about to tour with Spite and Body Snatcher.
Yeah, we're on that tour.
Right. Jesus Christ.
When we saw that Psycho Frame was doing it, I was like, fuck yeah, bro. I mean, obviously we're not gonna say no to that package, but
right. Oh, dude, Gnosis as well. Rio Shinada coming back over to the US. I am so excited.
Yeah, I checked that band out the other day. They're cool. They're a little different, but it's sick.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then Throne. I like Throne a lot. That's gonna be cool to see them. I don't know if you guys have checked them out at all. Yeah.
I know that the main thing to know about them is that Buster from also Viljarta and Humanity's Last Breath is their guitarist.
I think so.
He's the drummer for Drum.
Oh, he's the drummer.
Oh, he's the drummer. Okay, yeah, because I think he's the drummer for he's the main songwriter for Viljarta, and then he is the drummer for Humanity's Last Breath as well, and he also does like sound engineering. The dude's a god. One last question for you, Skylar, because you mentioned it briefly, and I definitely wanted to catch you upon that chunk of your history as a vocalist. You mentioned, were there any like prominent projects that you were working in before Cell? And if you could tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, I was in a band called Omen from out here. I started that when I was probably like 15, 16. And I did that up until I was about 21. And we worked with 1126 Records. I think they're based out of Massachusetts. Scott Lee, he's cool. I was working with another project at the time that kind of fell through. And then Omen just kind of dispersed, which we're all like still friends and keep up with each other. Another band, that James, the old drummer, he plays in Free For All from out here. They're a hardcore band. They're fucking sick, yeah. So be sure to check them out too. But yeah, that was like really the only like major project that I was in before Cell.
Fuck yeah. Well, I do appreciate you providing your story so far, Skylar, and basically your role to the band, your contributions to the band, your contributions to the local Oklahoma scene. Shout out to all the bands mentioned. As soon as possible, let's get most of you, if not all of you, on the Anatomy podcast. That way we can kind of start an Oklahoma local chapter for this show. Over time, of course. So whoever wishes to go next, basically the same exact thing that I had good old Skylar here do. Go ahead and take the reins yourself. Tell us everything you feel is relevant to you as a musician. Tell us about like how you got into your role, how long it took you, maybe important people along the way. And basically, I will be putting Finn on the spotlight a little bit here and having him provide most of the commentary to those questions or to those answers as we kind of descend into part 2 of chapter 1 of the show or some shit. But whoever wishes to go next, take it away, please.
I got it. Oh, my name's Ernesto. I play bass for Cell. I was born and raised in Abilene, Texas. I'm still resided there. And my musical background, my mom she would show me Motley Crue and Van Halen growing up. And then I discovered more music through Guitar Hero. Guitar Hero 3 and 4. that was it for me, really. Just discovering my music from there. Metallica, you know, really that's my like favorite band of all time. So, you know, just really that's much it. Nothing too crazy.
Gotcha.
But, yeah.
So let me ask then, like you mentioned a couple bands that like, you know, you had heard of through your mother and like things that you've heard through like Guitar Hero and obviously the bands that you've mentioned are more of the mainstream, more of the, you know, that kind of impactfulness, like obviously in their own respect. What drove you more towards like the heavier end of the spectrum on that, like more towards like the hardcore beatdown scene, you know, and the deathcore scene?
What really happened was I was 13. I saw these few bands, one called Seeker, one called Empire. And I'm trying to remember the other few. There was like the locals, but I remember those
Seeker
two.
was so good.
Yeah, like back in the day at this place called the Juca House in Abilene. That's really like, that put me into shock. I was like, whoa, I didn't think this would exist. But that's really what started with Seeker and Empire, seeing that live in a little room. That shit was crazy.
Gotcha. Yeah, the energy's like the energy's completely different, especially like local venues and like we got a couple up here that are like that. They're really small. Everyone's really close together. Like you can smell what somebody had for breakfast right next to you, kind of thing, you know. But like it really packs in that energy because everybody's there to like see who's playing and like really catch the vibe of what's going on. It gets a little crazy. Like if you could, like, you know, you said you saw them in Texas, correct?
Yes, my hometown, Abilene.
What's I mean, if you could tell me a little bit about the scene there and like what the scene is like there, you know?
Really, it's just we don't have that big of a hardcore community now. It's just, you know, just bar rock bands, but it's still a good time, you know. And it's mostly country music. We just got country venues now. But
Gotcha.
really what it is. I'm still like out of the blue when it comes to metal music, to be honest. Nowadays.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I'm the oddball.
Somebody out there needs to merge up some rebel country music with like some fucking beat down.
No, we do have a few bands. I'm in one called Double Cross and Headlock. Those are two different bands. One's hardcore, the other one's, you know, thrash crossover.
Yeah.
And I do a cover band called Burner, just playing 80 covers or modern rock, whatever, you know, something just you know, different vibe. And yeah, that's really much it.
Cool.
Yeah.
So as a musician, in all the years that you've been a musician, what would you say your most memorable moment has been?
I guess doing my first tour out of Texas for the first time last year. That Orthodox tour I've never been out of Texas till that moment. In 5 weeks, just with strangers I don't even know. And that was pretty much, you know, shit was crazy. Shit was awesome. So,
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
If I may interject, here's a question to kind of put you on the spot. Texas scene or Oklahoma scene?
I'll get your ass beat if wrong.
I mean, really, because, you know, they're both great scenes. You know, I can't pick one or the other.
Fair enough. At least you answered honestly.
I like being in Oklahoma the last few months. It's sick seeing it grow. You know, I'm glad to be there and see it. It's awesome, be a part of it. And growing up in Texas, you know, there's some cool moments. You know, the wrecking ball.
Yes.
That shit's cool. You know, seeing that in Dallas, like shit's pretty badass. You know, every part of the world has their own scene. It's really sick that they're all doing their own thing. Then it combines all together when each band's come around. So it's
Absolutely.
Can't pick. I can't pick. No.
If you could pick 3 bands right now that you would love to tour with, who would it be?
Oh,
don't ask him that fucking question.
Dude, right?
Oh, I feel like this is gonna be a juicy answer.
It's gonna be normie as fuck.
Normie bands. So we can say normie. No, to be honest, it'd be cool to tour with Humanity's Last Breath for fucking sure. That would be sick.
Yeah.
That would be hard. Might be out of play, but who knows? Cannibal Corpse would be sick. I don't know, like I love Cannibal Corpse. Let me see. I hate picking. Man, dude. You got me there, dude. I can't pick the third one. There's so many good bands out there I want to hit the road with. Dude, I can't. I mean, Bill Jaharda. Humanity's that other band, Bill Jaharda. I want to tour with them too. I love Fall, by the way. I really love Fall.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I love that shit.
Hell yeah. I get it. Oh, Sean, you're muted.
There
You think I could read lips?
we go.
I can't hear you, Bubby.
You're muted.
Turn on the subtitles, bro.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. So what I was gonna say is, being that you mentioned these bigger acts like Cannibal Corpse, are there any up and coming acts, whether it be Oklahoma local, Texas local, US local, internet, like whatever, doesn't really matter. Are there any local bands that you would want to see sell tour with in the future that you have not yet, simply because you fanboy over their material yourself?
What was that? Sorry.
Right. So being that Cannibal Corpse and other bigger acts are, it's going to take a bit for like Cell to kind of like jump the ranks a little bit more, kind of have the opportunity possibly to tour with bands like Cannibal Corpse. Are there any up and coming acts, local acts, that you are not scheduled to tour with in the future or have not inquired with yet, that you fanboy over yourself and therefore you might want to tour with them in the future? Like you're kind of daydreaming about, like, that would be cool to share the stage with these motherfuckers.
Honestly, seeing Dashed In again, I want to tour with them because they're pretty hard live. Let's see. I would love to go tour with. I haven't toured with them, but I would love to if you sick. I am. They're cool.
Texas local.
Texas local.
Texas local, yeah, for me. Honestly, the biggest one for sure. One would be for me in Texas would be Kublai Khan. I would love to hit the road with them. That's really the big one for me when it comes to being Texas.
Yeah, I can see Kublai Khan, Orthodox, Cell, and other acts doing a tour, and like basically it would be Orthodox and Kublai Khan co-headlining, or like kind of that double headlining thing, so they can switch every night because we know how that works. And then like right below that would be You Boys, and then you'd have all the local acts. I think that would rip. That would rip people to shreds. They'd be going to work next day like, what the fuck happened? That wasn't exactly Orthodox, but that's besides the point. No, it's awesome. It's awesome that you have provided the answers that you have so far. Finn, did you have any other questions to ask good old person? I'm losing track of names.
You call me Ernie. It's cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough. So, from a musician standpoint, like I'm incredibly socially awkward, as well as most musicians are, and so like I'm sitting here like in a sexy, seductive pose, sipping coffee and asking questions and like spitballing, So you mentioned Cannibal Corpse, which made me think of George. And George's weird tour habits, like with claw machines and that kind of stuff. Is there any particular weird tour habits that you have, if you feel comfortable to share them?
Dude, honest, I feel like I have to ask Skull. What is it that I do? I eat a lot.
Yeah,
For sure.
Crazy how much food he eats. He sleeps all day. And he shits.
Oh, okay. I get really hungry on tour, so I'll just eat someone's leftovers. Like, are you gonna eat that? Instantly. I get hungry.
No crumb left uneaten.
Reading books, something the normal person wouldn't do nowadays, I guess.
Me.
No, but yeah, I just eat a lot. Like I'll eat anything.
He'll swallow his food in 5 minutes and then look at you and be like, "Are you gonna finish that?"
So future note: if Infectorium ever tours with Cell, hide my leftovers.
Keep them away from Earth.
Hide your water, hide your rain, because I drink a lot of energy drinks. Hide your coffee.
Fair enough.
Hide your energy drinks, because I will chug that shit and not stop all day. Like, so.
I feel it. I feel it.
But yeah, dude.
That would be pretty much it. Unless there's anything else you want to add that I'm really bad at asking questions. You
I'm
know,
really bad at answering. I'm trying my best.
he just straight up, Sean just put me on spot and was just like, you know what? This isn't even just a trial, homie. This is a trial by fire. And I doused you in gasoline
I'm
and
trying
threw
to
the
like
match.
answer as fast as I can right now. No,
Well, yeah, you were about to say something. I know you were.
Oh no, it's just like I guess just happy to be here. You know, because I just recently joined a few months ago. You know, just happy to be a part of it, part of Cell. You know,
Hell yeah.
being the newest, second to newest now. So,
Okay.
Yeah, just
Heck
happy
yeah,
to be
man.
Well, if anything, before we move on, just like I asked with Skylar, the one thing I would want to pluck off of you is through those 5 categories, either your top album of all time, your top EP of all time, genre, artist, maybe even people who have kind of helped push you onto the path that you are currently setting yourself on with Cell. What are some major contributors musically or people-ly over time?
So my homeboys from Texas, Tanner, Alex, and John, they, you know, kept me. Shout out to the boys to you know, just pushing me and, you know, just supporting me into doing music and still playing with them. I love, you know, my bros. I love them very much. My parents, you know, still supported me after all these years. My brother and sister, my girlfriend right now, love her, Sienna. And I just, you know, make it quick for my albums. This band called Candaria, the album What Doesn't Kill You Makes You Stronger. It's a really good album. Fucking mathcore, metalcore, got it all. Trapped Under Ice, Heat Wave. Listen to the album in full. Love that album. And this band called Catherine Wheel. The album, a shoegaze band. The album's called Chrome. That shit really shaped me. Deftones, Kono Yokon, and then Metallica's Ride the Lightning. Love that album.
Hell yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Where's my shout out, asshole?
My favorite photographer. Owen. I say the best for last. Owen.
Shout out Owen.
Hey, what's up, Owen?
My boy. But yeah.
Hell yeah.
That's it.
Well, I do appreciate you providing the chunk of your story that kind of lines up with Cell, more or less, telling us a little bit about yourself. That way, well, essentially, the number of fans that you have over on Spotify, which if I pull it up right now, given a little bit of time, search up your monthly listener count, which I promise I'm only speaking right now to delay myself because my internet connection is only a little bit dog shit. Currently, you're 35,000 monthly listeners. Holy shit. So, you know, just providing them, those 35,000, a little bit more insight on the person that they see when they go to see you in person, or the individual that they see in the music videos, right? The whole point of this show, amongst other things, is to provide a more intimate opportunity for connection with your fan base. So I do appreciate the story that you have provided so far. And yeah, let's go ahead and keep on going down from left to right. Who is next? Who's next?
Go ahead, Brad.
Hey, I'm Ty. Like I said before, I play guitar and do backup vocals, and so I guess my earliest memory, I got into music through video games too. My first console on the PS1, I used to play Dave Maris Freestyle BMX all the time, and my grandma got me like the remix version of that game. But that it also came with like a compilation CD full of like punk and hardcore bands from like the early 2000s, late 90s, and like I listened to that like front to back like every single day. And then I got into like Linkin Park. That was like the first CD I ever bought for myself, was Meteora. And then I just got into like Slipknot, Devil Wears Prada after that, and then it's just been downhill ever since.
Gone downhill, he says. I mean, honestly, it's really weird because half the time musicians like ourselves in the deep underground counterculture music world, because it's that long of a title, yes it is, and we're going to be okay with that because we want to be specific, just like the subgenres and all the fucking cores. But one thing that's really important is just, you know, acknowledging your route, musically speaking. Hell, I started with EDM and dubstep, and look where I am now. I'm attempting to be a bassist and backup vocalist for a band, I found it, right? Mixing a whole bunch of genres, possibly even genre jumping back and forth until I find that sweet spot, or piss a whole bunch of people off guard with how much we do end up genre switching. But it's like, what's important is acknowledging your musical journey, your musical routes, and the bands that you've transitioned through, the genres that you jump back and forth between. It's very, very important to acknowledge those with positivity, as opposed to just calling most of your musical history cringe, because that's just part of the journey. Part of the journey is finding these bands and then moving on from these bands as if they're friends and family, right? Which I can attest to, like, having to do both. It's like it's all part of the plan. It's all part of the journey. And whether it's God's plan or not, that's besides the point. Because this is a religiously neutral podcast. But it's all about trusting the path that's being paved. So if I remember correctly, you said you started out with video game music. You kind of got into heavier punk bands. You found bands like The Devil Wears Prada, and ever since then, quote, it's gone downhill. So at what age would you say you ended up finding bands like The Devil Wears Prada? And why did you mention The Devil Wears Prada specifically? Because damn good band, but there are so many like Christian metalcore bands or Solid State Records metalcore bands. So like, you know, like, it was The Devil Wears Prada a prominent band for you along the way, a band that might even stick with you today?
Yeah, like, I first like got into them because like I always played guitars growing up and stuff, but like I also like doing vocals, and like I really got to like Slipknot when I was a kid, and like third grade actually. I would do like covers in my grandma's like computer room and stuff on her like video camera. Like yeah, I like doing vocals more than I like did guitar. And then like just The Devil Wears Prada, just like how Mike sounded when he did vocals, like I just want to do that. I want to sound like that. Yeah, Zombie EP with Roots Above, Dead Throne, like those are like the sickest things, like metalcore like ever. Pieces of metalcore ever. And like yeah, I just got into, like, I wanted to do vocals, like then like I was like, well, I mean, like, I guess I could start learning how to play like heavier guitar too, I guess. Because like I had played like punk growing up. Like my main influence for playing guitar is Nirvana. Like Kurt Cobain was like my god growing up, and like and then I played at church, like worship music. That's why I actually learned how to play guitar. Like figured out how to play chords, like scales and shit like that. And then like I took what I learned from that and like just try to do that like musically still. And yeah, then I got into like heavier bands. I started like my first few songs that I ever learned on guitar was like Fit for a King songs or Gideon songs. They're pretty simple. And then yeah, I just started like I don't know where I'm trying to go.
No, you're fine. You're fine. We're all improvising right now, as I did not provide you guys a script. And well, if we ever do a session in the future, I will make sure to do that next time. So I'll do both. You're like, I like The Devil Wears Prada.
Dude, whenever he starts talking, like when we've done interviews in the past, his brain like rattles when questions are asked to him. He doesn't know what to do.
Well, the poor guy's on spot. I get it. I mean, I've done solo acoustic performances for a school in a room of people who thought I was just going to play Ring Around the Rosies or some shit. And then instead I played Bare Toots the Lions, the acoustic version, which is a song about wanting to kill yourself. And then everybody's like, oh my gosh, that was actually pretty good despite the lyrical content. I'm like, oh my gosh, you did so well. Like, yeah, I did. And then I just disappeared off into denial like Batman as I skateboarded home with my bass guitar on my back. Like, it's, you know, it happens sometimes, but like, I can definitely say that despite the intentions musically that I have for my own project, like bands such as, and not limited to, The Devil Wears Prada, Silent Planet, August Burns Red, Currents, Fit for a King, all those, like they're mainly, well, not Currents. I don't think I can confirm for Currents, but most of those other bands, they started out with either Fearless Records or Solid State Records, and their main vibe, what kind of kept them alive, really, was being Christian metalcore bands and being metalcore bands that were pretty openly religious, at least near the beginning, right? And I do think it's rather ironic that you ended up doing a lot of your guitar playing homework inside of church, because, well, watch out, because the Christians can now say that everything you do is in the name of God. Just kidding. But also, it's like, no matter what you're doing along the way, kind of setting in stone and at least doing the homework in the first place, even if, you know, you're uncertain of the path ahead, you did the homework. And not only that, but you had it at least halfway through your journey, that not only did you want to become a guitarist, but you wanted to become a backup vocalist because of prominent acts like the Devil Wears Prada, who still stand strong today. And I've noticed, at least in our scene, in the hardcore scene, in the beatdown scene, in the slam scene, deep underground counterculture, again, it's not often, it's not common that you have someone who has the intentions of both doing guitar and backup vocals also in studio. Usually you see this a lot with bands, even with bands like Beartooth, right? They don't exactly record a Beartooth chorus in studio, but live, you better bet your ass there's going to be 3 mics ready to go. That way there's some sense of harmony that encourages people to come to the live session, the live experience. And that's kind of what separates it from the studio experience, right? Is more voices being added to the music. It compels you more. It gets you more engaged because more parts of the band are getting their they're getting their vocals involved. So I commend you. I commend you for putting that effort beyond even just playing guitar, but also learning how to play guitar in multiple different genres, covering songs in multiple different genres. And then on top of that, wanting to push forward a little bit and basically multitask between 2 different instruments, that being your voice and your vocals. A lot of people simply are intimidated by that. I know I am still, despite my intentions for my own project. So I commend you for that. If anything, this is like probably one of the stupidest clickbait questions I can ever ask a guitarist. So prepare yourself. What was your first ever guitar?
My first ever guitar, I couldn't tell you. It's probably some pawn shop acoustic. I only played like acoustics growing up, and like I was kind of stupid too as a kid. Like whenever I'd break a string, I would just throw the guitar away because I didn't know you could change the string. So like I probably went through like a few like acoustic guitars from the pawn shop, and then like I got my first real electric guitar probably when I was like 8 or 9, and like it was like a cheap like Strat ripoff, but it was right. I played left-handed and it was right-handed, but I just played it upside down. Like I could still play guitar upside down, but I just like playing left-handed more.
Right.
I play it normally. I don't flip the strings or anything like that. I just play it normally.
Sick. No, and I mean that's another detail you can always have for yourself, is that you learned how to play left-handed, but you know, you still kind of stick to formula, and therefore that's even more of a challenge for yourself. Because most people are right-handed and then they resort to formula, right? So then therefore you had to practice and you had to adapt even more. So that's really cool. Do you remember the first song you ever learned to play that more specifically would be relevant to the genre you're contributing to today?
Honestly, probably Kingdom Minded by Gideon.
Oh, sick. Love Gideon.
That is literally like the stupidest, like easiest song ever. Like I like learned how to play that, and I was like, all right, this is sick. Like I could probably learn how to play like more songs like this or write stuff like this.
Oh yeah. Now, kind of branching off a little bit, not too much of a segue because this is a question we've asked before, really. Are you local to Oklahoma, or are you from somewhere else too? Because
yeah, I've lived in Oklahoma my whole life. I was born and raised here. I live in a town called Norman. It's like 30 minutes away from the city. It's like a college town.
Oh, you boomer sooner, baby.
Well, if anything, one thing I would want to ask on a more personal level, because like I was telling Skylar earlier, is like I'm not really familiar with Oklahoma and what kind of separates it from the rest of the 50 states here in the US. What would you say is something that you've noticed in Oklahoma, especially after going on your first couple tours recently, or perhaps you've been touring with Cell for a long time? I'm not too sure. Aside from your and because of your touring experiences, really, what for you kind of separates Oklahoma as a state from the other places you've been to in your life? What makes it special for you? That's a better question.
Like I've been touring for like 7 years. And, like I've been touring with Saul for like basically 2 years. And like honestly, probably like the sunsets. Like I've been like all over the US. I've been to Canada too. I also played with Sledge. But like honestly, like literally the sunsets, like anywhere else, like there's no other sunsets like there's here in Oklahoma.
Ooh, okay. So coming from someone who's been to Arizona and they have apparently the prettiest sunsets ever because they're like blood red and then it's orange, pink, whatever, even on a clear sunny day. But then on an overcast day over in Tennessee, sometimes you have these like blue cotton candy sunsets and it's mixed with purple, red, whatever. So like, how would you best describe the Oklahoma? I know this sounds really stupid, but I'm still interested nonetheless. What is a perfect Oklahoma sunset, and what do you think kind of separates it from the rest?
Like a tropical fruit pack of Skittles. I don't know. I can't describe it.
It's your clouds.
Yeah, we got it.
It's clouds. Yeah, we got that part. No, that's cool. If you can compare it to candy, I mean that's pretty close to that good old cotton candy analogy that I mentioned before. So that's cool. I mean, as long as you're not immediately like, I don't know, man, it just looks cooler. Like we need more.
It's just indescribable. Yeah, you just have to experience it, I guess.
Oh yeah, dude.
That's a fucking sunset.
I definitely agree. I spent, I think it was like 6 or 7 months in Broken Arrow and Tulsa area.
Okay.
And it was during the summer, like coming out of winter into summer, and it's surreal out there. Like the weather, the skies, just you'll be driving one day and it's like the middle of the summer and you look at the temperature and it's like 110 degrees and you're like, wow, it doesn't feel like it's 110 degrees out here. But like, yeah, no, Oklahoma's definitely something special.
Yeah, for sure.
I'll definitely have to keep that in mind for future touring opportunities if there are any for my endeavors. But no, it's really cool. And just like I asked good old Skylar and I think Fernando? Ernie, Jesus Christ. Fuck me, dude.
From now on.
So like Skylar and Ernesto, basically I wanted to ask you the same question regarding either 5 different albums, EPs, bands, artists, or even people in your life who have kept you steady. They've kept you just like, hey, Cell is the way to go. You're like, okay, fine. I also have, this other band, but fine, fucking Cell. What are those 5 characters for you? And if anything, if you want to as well, go ahead and provide us the context of what places those bands, artists, or people in those categories. Take it away.
Okay. Probably my mom and my grandma. My grandpa, he passed away like almost 10 years ago now, but just everyone in my family basically like always supporting me, never really like caring what I listened to growing up. They weren't too strict or anything.
Good.
And, they're like letting me be able to tour and shit. Like I dropped out of high school when I was 18, so I could tour with Sledge back in the day, and like they supported me through that and stuff. Also my girlfriend for letting me be gone away from her. And then Eric, my buddy Eric Claxon, who plays guitar in Sledge, he used to play bass in I Am, but probably without him, the doors and like the people I've met like probably would have never been opened up for me. And like I honestly probably wouldn't be alive if I didn't have him as like one of my best friends. Like he kept me like afloat through like a really tough time in my life.
Good.
I owe a lot to him. I owe a lot to like Sledge from Oklahoma City. This other band called The Tooth from here. Shame. Fucking yeah, I don't know.
Dude, shout out the girls, bro.
Yeah,
Shout out Des and Alex and Rachel, Sienna.
As far as like my favorite albums, probably like In Utero by Nirvana is probably one of my top favorite albums. Iowa by Slipknot was like the heaviest like piece of music ever written. Like if you smoke weed and you get stoned as fuck and you just sit in the dark and listen to that album, like you will come out the end a different person.
You're gonna come out thinking you're from Iowa.
Literally, like I heard parts in that album I never listened to in my entire life. The first time I did that, and probably those two albums. I don't know.
Would you provide a shout out to IM, being that you're wearing an IM hoodie? I see you.
Oh yeah, shout out IM, honestly, yeah, because they're another like vocal influence on me too. Like Andrew, he's still a beast on stage, but back in the day, he was a fucking beast when they were like deathcore. Like I learned how to do like tunnel vocals like through Andrew, and like I can't even do those anymore, and he can't even do those anymore, which is pretty funny.
There you go.
I don't know. It's funny, but that I don't know. I don't know who else to shout out or what else to shout out. Backroom. Shout out Backroom. I don't know.
Yeah, you better plug Backroom, bro.
Oh, yeah, shout out Joe, bro.
Oh yeah, shout out Joey. Joey Pelletier. I don't know. Yeah. I guess dude, I don't know.
Panic attack, bro. It's freaking out.
Sorry. Top 5 albums. I gotta go like Nirvana in Utero, fucking Iowa Slipknot, Someday Came Slowly, Attack, with Roots Above and Branches Below, Double Wrist Prada.
Right.
Oh fuck.
Do you have any of those albums on vinyl yet?
No, I have the CDs of them. I have a bunch of fucking CDs. I don't really collect vinyl. I collect vinyls of like the bigger bands I listen to.
That's fair.
Like the more mainstream ones, I guess.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, you might as well invest into like the bigger albums and stuff that are going to be more regularly available on vinyl.
Yeah.
Got
also,
that.
The Anti-Mother by Norma Jean.
Okay.
One of my favorite albums. Yeah.
On another note, before we move on, I don't know if it's the camera resolution, but Ernesto's looking like fucking Dave Grohl over here. I swear to God.
I get that everywhere.
That's just how it looks. Dude.
What? That's Fernando, bro.
Fernando.
I feel so bad. I'm so sorry about that.
It's Fernando, bro.
Hey, Fernando.
Fernando, dude.
If you want, I can call you Fernando in person too.
Please.
All day, every day now.
He's like, this motherfucker. He's trying to change my name. Anyways,
this is why I don't mention names, because like, dude, I forget what I had for breakfast. I'm not gonna remember your name. Like, you know.
I'm definitely the name guy. I don't know what happened, but you know, Fernando. This is so now. All right, so let's go ahead and move on. Who's next in the line? We got the last person on the right sitting down. Let's freaking go. Take the reins, sir. Ben, do you want me to take this one, or do you want
I'm so bad at this.
It's okay. We'll piece it together slowly, I promise.
Yeah. My name's Matthew. Like I said, I play the other guitar in Cell.
Matthew, we can't see your beautiful face.
Yeah,
Am I not in frame?
Let's play musical chairs for a minute.
Front and center, sir.
He's standing in the corner, bro. Just
That's what I was gonna do. I was like, I'm gonna stand in the corner under the lamp, just posted.
Perched on top of the dresser behind you guys, just like, hello.
Just sit on the table right here.
Just end up out of frame.
Yeah,
Is that a silver L4? What the fuck?
Do the fucking Wilson from Home Improvement. It looks like just the top of my head.
But anyways, reintroduce yourself, sir. Let us know your role in the band, and then we'll take it from the very beginning that you feel is relevant.
Yeah, Matthew, like I said earlier, I played the other guitar and sell. I don't know, where do I go from there?
Well,
I'm going to need to be guided through this.
Yeah, you're fine. You're fine. So just as we did with the prior 3 individuals so far, what I'm looking to have you do is go back to the beginning of what you feel is relevant to your journey as a musician. So for example, when, where, how, why you first got into guitar, how, where, when, why you ended up getting into music, some of your starter kit bands, the genres that you moved through, that type of stuff. Just tell us your story. Tell us a little bit about yourself, or as much as you're willing to disclose, really. That way, again, we can provide a more intimate impression with the 35,000 cell listeners. Let them get to know you, right? This is kind of like a show and tell for good old Matthew.
Right on. So I guess started when I was 13, for my 13th birthday. My parents bought me a Fender Squire Bullet and a 15-watt Fender Frontman amp.
That's the type of juicy details we want,
Dude,
people.
I tuned that guitar down to drop B with the factory strings on it, I'm sure, and had that amp cranked. And I started learning Slipknot songs. The first song I ever learned, like on electric guitar, was Raining Blood. I like sat in front of the computer for a month watching a YouTube video every night after school, trying to figure out how to play that.
That's the homework, baby.
Dude. Yeah, and then I had a friend of mine in 8th grade show me annotations for an autopsy, and then it just
fuck yeah,
spiraled
fuck
way
yeah.
out of control from there. From that point on, it was just like, what's the most extreme shit that I can find?
Yeah, you're speaking my language now. Welcome to Slick.
Yeah, yeah, dude.
You're speaking my language now.
Insane.
Oh man. Shout out to Annotations of an Autopsy. Are they still together?
I don't think so, but I'm pretty sure Big Chocolate, he just started a project with Johnny and Colton from Angel Maker called Gorehammer, and that project's pretty good.
Fucking shit.
Oh, yeah.
You just sent me back like 15 years.
Yeah,
Like
dude,
10, 15
honestly.
years.
But yeah, just that, like, that was it. Just fucking Annotations of an Autopsy, and then I got really into face down bands for a while. Like the first, I know this is super corny, but the first hardcore band I ever heard was a band called Dynasty. They were a face down band, and like that got me into all like hardcore music. And then from there, you know, it's like Terror and all those bands. Yeah, I don't know. It's always just been like, what's the most extreme out there thing I can find?
Right. So I mean, you kind of tapped into that, and I mean, honestly, any of us in the room here can say that we had that. What's heavier? Is this the heaviest? Fuck no, it ain't. We might as well go all the way to slam, baby. And it took me a long time to get into slam. I will wholeheartedly admit, really, my slam journey, tapping into the heaviest genres, the heaviest bands in the industry, really ending so far with Makluk, with Nithful, most of the boys in Downtune Productions, really. Let's see, there's Eden Adversary, there's the White Bear Project, there's Methwitch. Like, that's probably shout out Methwitch, man. Cameron McBride is a beast, bro, a beast. That's really like kind of where my journey ended, as far as like looking for the heaviest shit that was still appealing to me, whilst also catering to that. How heavy can we get? How dropped can we get? Can we do drop Z? Like, what the fuck? Bring it forward, dude. Because the slower the better, right? But then at the same time, the faster, the more complex, the better. So then you find bands like Archspy, and you're like, yo, this dude's actually spitting bars, but he's spitting bars in heavy vocal language. What the hell is this? You know? And then you find Tech Death. And I mean, over time, really, for me personally, some bands that have really stood out, mainly because of their marketing niches, mainly because of like how well they're known in the scene. Bands like Vulvodynia, bro. It's like, Vulvodynia be some good shit. Post Duncan, that is. love Volvodine, and I cannot wait for them to release an album this year with, I think, the lead in Percent, something like that. Their guitarist, one of their shred lords, really also jumping on vocals. And like I mentioned to Tyler earlier, when you're in a position like that, you're already as good as you are, but you continue pushing by also taking on another instrument with yourself. It's like, dude, how is that not going to market well? You know what I mean? With the reputation they already have, it's just like boom, boom, boom. Buy the album, please, because the main shred lord is also the vocalist now. Like, holy shit, that's so cool. So over time, I would say I would want to ask, being that you kind of provided the roadmap of your genres and stuff, and more or less, usually this is like kind of a backup question, and this could be for any of the members, but you know, we're already this deep into session. Do you have any careers that you're looking to invest into outside of music? Do you have a good standing job? Like, not to dig too personal, of course, but it's also important to, right.
No, because like it's really hard to hold a regular 9 to 5 and tour as much as we want to. So in between tours, like I just do Grubhub. I have a little lawn care company. It's nothing crazy, but I've been trying to get that off the ground. But yeah, just like maintaining something like that will let you take several months off per calendar year is really tough.
Oh
No,
yeah,
seriously.
for sure.
That's the most difficult thing about trying to get into this industry, and that's like one thing that stood the test of time between all of the prior 65 artists that I've had on the show, right? It's trying to devote yourself as much as possible for something substantial with music, with the creative medium. And even though we are in the deep counterculture underground counterculture music scene, the industry is still the industry, right? Record labels can still be pretty complicated, still be pretty, like poke the bear-esque sometimes, as far as like understanding how things go on outside of the music. So then depending on whether you sign to a contract, depending on whether you sign a contract to a record label or not, or for example, Reminiscence, Snakefather, Decayer signing to Blood Blast Distribution as opposed to signing a full contract deal with Nuclear Blast Records, like the options definitely are expanding over time, but it's still difficult. It's always going to be difficult unless you happen to be lucky enough and you happen to have your foot in the door already, you've built a reputation, and then you quit your job or something very similar to that. Maybe put in a 2-week notice, like, okay, I'm a touring musician, I'm a rock star now, fuck you. And then, then you run out of the building. It's like, no, you can't exactly do that. You were never able to do that, but now there are more options to kind of make up for what could be lost opportunities at home for holidays, spending time with your family and friends while you're touring the nation, or if you decide to go overseas, well, going to a completely different world, really. Because let's be honest, most of us are never going to go into space. None of us are ever gonna be like, yo, let's do a collab with fucking NASA and go up and see the moon, bro. Like that's not gonna happen anytime soon. So then when you go overseas and you go into other countries, those are basically you going into different worlds. You're going into different cultures, and that's a whole other story. But more or less, just music industry rant / man, I can't exactly quit my job and just be a touring rock star anymore. Like, no, that was never an option, buddy.
Yeah.
But I do appreciate you letting me know about that, and I wish you the best of luck with your lawn care or lawn company, really, because not many people would have the energy that I know to both attempt to be a musician in a beat down slam band, as well as trying to erect a business for yourself that happens to not have anything to do with music. So I commend you for attempting to do that, and I wish you the best of luck in your endeavors. Yeah, of course. So let's see. More or less, I asked this question to Tyler and Ernesto earlier, or Skylar and Ernesto, but were there any other bands? Were there any projects that maybe fell through and crumbled to dust that you were in before you were in Cell, or any other bands that you were also in while you're also in Cell at this moment?
Yeah, I did vocals for a band called I Am Air. We started in the very beginning, or like kind of towards the end of 2016, I think. and then did that for a while. That was all DIY. We toured a bunch. Honestly, I just kind of got tired of doing vocals. I miss playing guitar. And this opportunity opened up, and I was like, hell yeah, let's go. But like, that was a lot of fun. Got to see both coasts with that band. And it was really cool to like DIY it all.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was it. Other than that, it was just like I played guitar in church bands.
Oh, cool. Okay. So that's something then that you and Tyler kind of share, is like doing a little bit of homework in a kind of worship setting as far as guitar.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's cool. And therefore, God brings people together or some shit. No, that's actually really cool. And the fact that you also have some touring experiences through prior projects and through Cell now, after Fortune Favors the Cold and other endeavors that you guys have done. It's awesome to know that not only do you have tour experience, but you have experience in doing DIY touring, because independent bands, right? That could easily be another topic. How difficult it is for them to really make a name for themselves. Bands that would be probably excluded from that at this point would be major efforts like Angel Maker or Shadow of Intent. Not even, like, just those are the two prominent bands I can think of that are still independent and still really doing well. So it's always cool to know that you've done the homework necessary to be self-sufficient as an independent band, right?
Yeah.
And you have a distributor, I'm sure, with the Orchard. But other than that, you're kind of doing it all on your own, and it's commendable. It's very respectable, and it continues. I do wholeheartedly believe it continues to inspire other musicians in the scene to not exactly just be immediately crawling on the ground like from some fucking Wendigo, begging for a contract deal, right? Whether it be Unique Leader, Century Media, Sharp Tone, Nuclear Blast, any of them really. It's important to get on your feet and stand, just like growing up, right? When you're growing up and you're finally becoming a person, you're able to walk on your own. Well, at least nature compels human beings to be able to walk on their own before they start running, right? Same thing with record labels. You got to learn how to walk first. You got to learn how to breathe, for fuck's sake. And then you learn how to run. You learn how to paint, right? You learn how to, you kind of understand the world as it is, getting a job, sustaining a family. Very, very similar thing with being in a band. And then on top of that, operating independently. So I commend you for that. Yeah. And I commend all of you boys for that, more importantly. But as we kind of continue into session, and to be honest, my brain's a little bit dry right now, so maybe I need more gamer subs. But let's see, because you were able to name not only the type of guitar that you have, but I do believe you mentioned the plugin that you got for your very first gear setup as a guitarist. What would be a dream gear set for you, whether it be the guitar, the plugins, strings, name anything? Like what's some equipment that you're hoping to acquire in the future?
Going to Camper. No, I don't want to. No, I don't know, dude. That's so tough. I'm like very musically ADHD, so I mean that changes damn near on a weekly basis. You know what I mean?
For sure.
Right now, I'm playing an EC1000 from LTD, and it's the best guitar I've ever had. Shit, I don't know. For a long time, I wanted a Randall Diablo amp, but I've got one of those. And like I say, I'm sure that it could change in a week or two.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, I'm pretty happy with what I've got right now.
Right. Sick. And I mean, you mentioned that it changes all the time. Well, also as musicians, as creators, you're compelled to continue distinguishing yourself in some rhyme or way. So of course, you're not going to settle. You're not going to settle for one setup and be like, this is what I play for Cell. This is the Cell formula, motherfucker. Like, you're always going to want to expand. So I don't think ADHD has anything to do with that, but I do have a saying: always appreciate, but never settle. And this
Oh, you're silent again, Sean.
one day, it's important to continue changing what you're using on a regular basis, and especially as Cell attempts to distinguish itself from other metallic hardcore or hardcore bands in the scene, right? You can't exactly afford to just stick with one thing because, well, unless you do want to create a formula for the band, whether it be for gear or the genre, right? You never want to stick to one thing. So
Yeah.
I don't think ADHD has anything to do with it, but you're constantly looking to push forward and try new things. And as long as you have the financial resources for it as well, have at it, you know? You got eventually. I've seen this with every guitarist, and I'm understanding it now over time. I'm like, why the fuck does this dude have like 7 different guitars? It's like, well, for me it's the tone, or for me it's the pickup, because I randomly bam the shit out of this guitar so many times, like the fretboards are like, you know, whatever the case may be, whatever the niche may be. I'm understanding more over time why your heads are the way that they are. Simply said, of course, you mentioned that you used to do vocals. I know this is a very, very silly question, but should we ever expect to hear your vocals in Cell in the future?
I have like 10 words on this EP, just like little backup part.
Okay, sick. Yeah. Well, I mean, as long as you're part of the chorus, right? Like I said beforehand, the more voices that get involved with the project, usually the more compelling it is for a live audience, because it's like, oh my gosh, they can coordinate and all sing at the same time that well without getting out of touch. Like, wow, I want to see this band a million times more, Batman. You know, like that type of shit. Because apparently Joker is going to Cell shows. I can see that happening though. More specifically, the Heath Ledger Joker. But as we're continuing into session, and well, basically we're 4 out of 5 now, right? So we're getting near the end, but we still got a little bit of chunk of time before we migrate into the second half of the podcast episode. So Matt, the same way I asked the 3 before you, right? What are your 5 placements in this moment, and why?
It's so tough. I don't even know, dude. Subliminal from Slipknot is definitely up there. Like, that record pretty much taught me how to play guitar. Just like trying to learn that record by ear and like all the different techniques that are on it. Damn, dude. Just for like old school sake, Wormwood from the Acacia Strain. That record was super sick when I was a kid. That like blew my mind. I was like, holy fuck, I didn't know a band could be this pissed. When I heard that. What else? Kind of out of the blue, fucking, it's pronounced Leonard Skinner.
Okay.
When I was first learning how to play guitar, like, of course, you know, everyone or a lot of people start with just like all that old school rock and roll stuff. And that was pretty big into getting me into electric guitar. There's so many.
Okay, how about an album that you've been how about an album that you've been listening to a lot recently that's come out specifically in 2023, if you have one?
I listened to the Mouth for War record a ton. That record was super cool.
You said Mouth for War from Colorado, right?
Yep.
What?
Yeah, Please Yourself is a sick record.
Still need to listen to that album. Fuck.
Let me go on. Let me go on here and look. Let me get in my albums really quick.
He's about to go into his Spotify rap.
I'm about to get real nerdy with it. I have this thing. I started it years ago where I try to listen to like 4 or 5 new bands every day because I'm in the car so much. So there's like, I might find 10 records in a day and be obsessed with all of them. You know what I mean? But like recently, New World Man. Yeah, honestly, that record was super cool.
New World Man by who?
It's New World Man. The EP is called The Beast Is Back.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been on that one real heavy. It didn't come out last year, but the Malevolence record the most recent Malevolence record was really cool. Actually, I have some friends that were based out of Dallas in like a melodic black metal band called High Fells. They put out a record that I wore out completely. Dude, there's a bunch. I've been really stuck on Big X the Plug too. This guy turned me on to him. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff, dude. My music, like the stuff that I listen to, goes all over the place, just on a daily basis.
That's how it should be if you're going to be a creative guitarist and stuff for a metallic hardcore band, right? Like, you kind of have to continue expanding, listen to new stuff every day. And what I will say is that regarding your process, regarding your 5 record or like 3 artists a day process, after that day concludes, do you ever end up listening to those artists again, or do you torture yourself by like, no, I can't listen to that band today, but I'll listen to them next week or something? Like, how does that work?
So it's usually like I'll have a band that I'll find, say I found them a month ago, and then I go down to similar artists and I'll listen to all the similar artists.
Oh,
and usually there's 2 or 3 on that list, and then those will be the 2 or 3 that I listen to for weeks and go through their similar artists, and it just goes like that pretty much.
Oh yeah.
And like I say, like I started doing it intentionally, and then it just like that's just what it is now.
Ben, did you have anything to add?
What is your favorite thing to do in your downtime on tour, like between dates?
Sleep. Dude, I'm the oldest one in the band. I'm 29, and I've been touring for about 7 years. So like at this point, I'm like, if we have some spare time, I'm going to sleep. I'm gonna take a nap.
Yeah, take a nap, bro. Fair enough. Yeah. I don't take enough naps in my life.
Absolutely.
From the light touring I've done in my career and stuff, because I haven't done a whole lot of it, especially in latter years. Everybody either has a habit that they have on tour, or they have a comfort that they have on tour. Like what is your most like comforting thing when you're on tour? Like comfort food?
Hell no. Truck stop showers, bro. $17, you get your own room to yourself. You get some privacy, some quiet. Oh, that's like a treat, honestly.
Fair enough.
So it's fair to say that you're a big. It's fair to say you're a big fan of Buc-ee's then.
I hate Buc-ee's.
What?
I can't stand Buc-ee's. And I like Ernie. I'm also from Texas. Like I was born in San Antonio. I live there now. Yeah. Like to me, Buc-ee's, it's just a glorified gas station. They're so expensive, and everyone's like brisket sandwiches. I'm like, go to any other barbecue spot in Texas, and it's probably cheaper and way better.
Yeah, fair enough. I have yet to go to a Buc-ee's. I'm still trying to knock that off the list. You'd think that like on my way here or like on my way over to Tennessee or back that I would have gone by one, but apparently there wasn't a single one on the route, so I never stopped. I was never like, "Yo, it's the freaking Beaver, bro! Like, let's go."
Yeah, but you definitely go there for just to experience it one time. But I'm just not a fan. And I know
table there, brother.
Dude, I'm gonna get dragged for that, but
well.
Yeah. I feel that like up here in Ohio, we don't have them. We have like Lubs and Pilot and TA, and TA's the spot.
Yeah,
but no, that was pretty much like my main thing. Like, you know, like I said earlier, I'm very socially awkward, so I ask like the questions more on like a personal kind of level of things like that. Like on tour, you know, do you eat candy before you play that? You know, what soda? Like I don't know what to ask half the time. So
yeah, no, dude, I'm definitely like the most boring out of everybody for sure. The last time we played Brooklyn, because Ernie had never left Texas until that tour, and they were like, dude, we should walk to Times Square. they were like, Matt, you want to go? And I was like, hell no, I don't want to go. I'm going to sleep. You know, I crawled in the back of the van and passed out.
Fair enough, dude. Well, I think that is a good place to end, at least with Matt. Matt.
Oh, yeah.
Bye. No.
Just like, yeah, get out of here. Get out of my car.
Now we got the last piece of cell here. Being that you've essentially been provided 4 different examples beforehand, basically go through the same formula, the same set of questions we did before. Yeah, let's get this boy front and center with his hockey jersey. Oh shit, dude. Let's go, boy. I wish it was cold enough here to fucking have a hockey jacket, but oh well. So basically the same way again that we did with the other boys. Introduce yourself, what you do for the band, how you got started in your journey in the role that is relevant to Cell. Take it away, sir.
My name's Cameron. I play drums for Cell. I started playing, I think, when I was 12. I got a CB drums drum kit. I sold my Maestro, my Gibson guitar, and an $80 drum set to get that CB kit from a pawn shop, I think. I just started from there playing. I don't know.
Do you remember the first song you ever played on drums?
Shit. I remember back in the day I used to play a lot of Rubber Soul from the Beatles. I practiced to that just because it was simple beats. I could follow along to it pretty easily. And then, yeah, that was kind of stuff I used to jam when I first started. Never got into playing too many covers or anything like that. I never really liked playing other people's songs.
Hell yeah. Okay. Let's see. I asked this a little bit later in time for good old Matt, but do you have like a dream kit that you're looking to acquire? Have you already acquired it?
I mean, my kit that I have now, yeah, I got hit up by a company, SoCal Drums, and they built a kit for me that was basically my dream kit. So that's what I'm rocking right now.
Oh yeah. Are there any drummers that you've been inspired by over time?
Oof, definitely. Say one of my biggest inspirations, actually a local drummer here, Kevin from he played drums for Sledge. He was one of my big inspirations here locally for sure, like getting into drums and drumming over the years.
Hell yeah, dude. Let's see. So drumming inspirations, check. Dream kit, check. What can you tell me about your you're born and raised in Oklahoma too, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So what is something that you can tell me about Oklahoma that, for example, Tyler didn't already tell me or Skylar didn't already tell me?
Man, I don't know.
He says, I'm ready to leave, bro. I'm ready to move out of state.
Shout out Lucky Strikes, bro.
Yeah, shout out Lucky Strikes. That ass.
Were there any places you saw on tour that you would want to relocate to, I guess? Like
I worked there. I really liked being up in Erie, Pennsylvania. That was a really cool spot. I liked the trees up there. But it's quiet, it's calm here in Oklahoma. I like it. Especially being out and seeing some of these cities. I don't want to live in a big city. No
I'm the
chance.
same way, man. Let's see, are you more of an off-grid person? Because obviously you said you never want to live in a major city. So like, would you want to live on a farm or something and just annoy the shit out of your cows and nearby neighbors with the drums and shit?
Yeah, for sure. That's definitely my vibe. I'm kind of recluse for sure. I don't really, yeah.
Cool.
Big city stuff, you know.
Something that like basically definitely pertained and catered to the earlier episodes in the podcast. And this is always a question I eventually ask any of the members.
early on, before you got into drumming, was there another hobby or medium that you participated in that perhaps you thought you would be pursuing instead of drumming today? And if you did, when did that chapter of your life conclude, transitioning you into being a drummer and just beating the shit out of your drum kit?
I wouldn't necessarily say, well, because other than drums, my other hobbies, I like to work on my cars and shit. So I started doing school. I did diesel tech for a little while, and then did automotive for about another couple years, and then now I'm working in a shop outside of playing music. So that's
Sick.
kind of, yeah, that's
You're
all
always
I'm
working mechanically then.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, dude. Let's see. Were there any other dreams that you were looking to, like any other paths that even now you're like, you know what? I might be a drummer. I might beat the shit out of my kit. I might be a very mechanical man. I would use another term, but I'm not sure if that would be appropriate for the podcast. Like, you know, you already got everything else that you got going on right now. So with Cell or with this other job in mind as a financial resource or something that you're just active in right now, right? You're consistent in. Are there any other paths that you're planning to go on into the future? Maybe when you're done with drumming?
I mean, if anything, kind of working in a mechanic shop is a fallback, if anything. But yeah, trying to make music work to the fullest.
Yeah,
and it's kind of my main passion for sure.
absolutely. What are some future milestones you're hoping to accomplish as a drummer for Cell?
Milestones, shit.
Cover a modern drummer.
You're gonna get that Grammy, boy.
I'm saying.
Just get hard as fuck. that's pretty much it. You know, endorsements would be sick, yeah. But
yeah,
you know.
I love them brand deals. Have you had anybody dive into your drum kit so far, or like any other terrible stage experiences on tour, boys?
Not that I can really say. No, I'm kind of like, I used to be pretty picky about not letting people touch my drums, like vocalists standing on them and stuff. I used to hate that shit. Now I don't give a fuck, but I used to be really picky about that. So
You shouldn't have told me that. Yeah, dude, that's so funny because Step Brothers is on right now. That's fucking hilarious.
Okay, so let's see. I guess I can hit you with the 5-character question.
Okay.
Spotlight, limelight, baby. Bring it on.
Shit. I could jump around a little bit, maybe. I know, like, the music that I listened to whenever I was in about 8th, 9th grade, heavy was Metallica. That got me into metal starting out. And then from there, I found Texas in July, and that got me into the heavier stuff for sure. So from then, yeah, them. Yeah, like Bring Me the Horizon type stuff. It kind of came along with August Burns Red, that kind of stuff from Texas in July. But
are you a fan of the older material exclusively from Bring Me the Horizon, or do you vibe with the newer shit too?
I vibe with some of the newer stuff for sure. I liked their old stuff for sure, like their deathcore stuff and going up till Sepultura, I think. And after that, I kind of fell off, but like I still liked all their stuff they've been putting out for sure.
Oh yeah,
I like everything, music, any genre, anything. Really.
Yeah, after all, the drums are the heartbeat of all music. So no matter what genre, it's like drumming is a very prominent part. It's a very important part of getting that anatomy per se, as per brand. It's very important to have a heartbeat in the anatomy, because if you don't have a heartbeat, well, the bones can't function properly, the tissue can't circulate blood properly. So that's amongst other reasons, that's why we call this the Anatomy Podcast, is to understand each and every part of the vessel, the body, the being, the sentience that is Cell. I think you provided me 4, so one more.
Shoot. I will say early on, getting me into the heavier stuff too. I'd say Job for a Cowboy fell in there shortly after. Actually, finding Texas in July, they were the heaviest band at the time I was listening to was Job for a Cowboy. But
They're pretty fucking heavy. So
that and that's Blood Runs Black.
See, there's something Finn can connect with.
Yeah, I think sometimes people that like know me and like Sean, you especially, like when we talk, I think people don't realize like I got like a solid decade on you, dude. I'm like
That's crazy.
a lot of the bands that you're mentioning, I'm like, yo, I remember when they dropped their EP.
Same, dude.
Well, I do believe that will be a nice little way to kind of conclude the people part of the podcast, except for one question. And I've never asked this before to a band collectively, as very seldom do we have the entire lineup on the show. But I'm grateful for everybody being here tonight. I appreciate your patience during the session. One question I would want to ask is, when you guys are not creating music for sale, when you're not touring, when you're not bringing hell to Oklahoma per se, in the best way possible, how do you brothers kind of like, how do you guys connect? What do you guys do outside of Cell that kind of brought you together over time and created a more organic friendship, a brotherhood per se?
We smoke hella cigs together, drink tequila,
Smoke weed, play games.
Yeah, we'll like game and shit. Hang out. We like to all eat, obviously, so we like going out to eat together a lot. Whenever we are, we're all in the same room. Yeah.
Are there any specific games that you guys do like competitions on, like, you know, competitive gameplay? Like, what games do you guys all play together?
I mean, Ty, like, I'm not like a big gamer, but I will play, like, if Ty's like playing like Grand Theft Auto or something, I like fucking around. I'm like kind of watching him do that. They're all into like Call of Duty pretty heavy.
Yeah.
Ty's Counter-Strike. Ty plays Counter-Strike.
I play Counter-Strike. I play on PC. They play on consoles and shit.
Dude, I've been playing Farming Simulator. Y'all ain't never heard about that.
Yeah, when like the last like Spider-Man game dropped, bro, I like walked in and like beat it in like 2 days. Bro, it was so good.
I bet, dude. Like, I can understand that because I heard a lot of good things about that game. And,
yeah, bro, I pre-ordered the fuck out of it. I waited months for it.
Well, for the boys in chat who are COD friendly, I do have Modern Warfare 3, so let's link up on that sometime soon. Maybe get a couple dubs on Warzone.
Hardcore. He plays hardcore
Resurgent,
like
anything.
exclusively.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Yeah, got to work together as a team after all, and therefore it makes Cell such a more interconnected band project.
Yeah, we're all brats.
But gentlemen, as we descend into the second half of the podcast session, basically none of you exist now. Instead, now we're acknowledging you all collectively as Cell. This is one of my favorite parts of the show as well. Basically, none of you have any individuality anymore. Just kidding. But besides the point, we kind of start off, we kickstart the second half of this podcast session with some more in-person clickbait questionnaire, right? So pretend, I guess, go back to Fortune Favors the Cold, or really any other tour that you've done beforehand, as people most likely have asked you this question because there are 35,000 monthly listeners, and that's just on Spotify. My first question for the remaining percentage, the remaining chunk of those people who might have not had the opportunity to ask that question, maybe because they had their teeth kicked in from some pretty heavy moshing. Collectively speaking, what would you guys say is the reason that you named the project Cell? Who came up with the name? And is there any backstory behind that name?
So I named the band. like I said, it was I started it with my buddy Michael, who plays bass in Mouth for War. Cell was like it was initially the name itself. Me and my friend Colton were like trying to do just like a new project, and I wanted to call it that, and that was like originally what we were gonna call it. And then when Omen got signed to 1126, we had to kind of rebrand for like copyright reasons because there's already another band called Omen, and we were gonna rename it to Cell, but we ended up not doing that. We just said like we'll put OKC at the end, kind of like how Kublai Khan did like Kublai Khan DX. And so we ended up doing that, and then that just kind of like it was on the back burner for a while. And so when I did like the first demo for Failed by the Grace of God's Hands, me and Michael were like, fuck it, we should put this out. Because I initially like he sent that demo to me a while before, and I wrote lyrics to it and I put vocals on it, and I was trying to get it to be an Omen song and just give Michael the writing credits for it, but it didn't really feel like the style that my old band was, so we were all kind of like, no, we won't use that. And so we put it out as just like an internet thing, side project deal. Yeah. And there's like no backstory to the name itself, like why I wanted to call it Cell. I just thought it was cool and it sounded cool, and I like 4-letter band names.
Fair enough. Yeah, it's simple to promote. It's kind of like, this is the logic I more or less use in recent times, right? So of course you can have your 1-syllable band names, you can have your 2-syllable band names, and for example, for mine, Blind Without Our Failures. Well, that's 4 different words, but I kind of like to think of it as a first, middle, and last name, right? So for you guys, it provides a more easier marketing strategy because you're only really providing the first name, unless per se in the future, if there happens to be another Cell and they're like, hey, this is our band name or whatever the fuck. And you're like, okay, we'll just call it Cell Oklahoma, motherfucker, to kind of pay homage to the place where we come from. Well, at that point, you know, that provides a little bit more identity to it. That provides a little bit more personalization to it. But after all, not everybody in the project is from Oklahoma. So then when you confine it, when you compact it to just Cell, and the way the logo is also designed, very, very formula, but it still has its own touch, right? You can still read it, but it still has all the spikes. It still has all the rosebush thorns, right? It provides something that's very easily marketable, but at the same time, whether it be because you guys are on your own right now and you have to do everything on your own, you're having to promote everything on your own, it just makes things a little bit simpler for people to remember. So I completely understand. And I mean, after all, you provided more than enough of an impression for me and Finn so far, but more specifically for me, as far as a good mix of metallic hardcore, beat down, and like a little bit of blackened ambience. But as Skylar let me know himself earlier, possibly even a more like grunge-based ambience kind of crammed in there where it applied, which I think is going to provide you guys more identity going into the future, and especially after this EP comes out. Now, my next question, and this can be a question that absolutely everybody in chat or in the call is able to answer, right? What is the most important thing when it comes to writing material for Cell, and how do you think, genre-radically speaking, it helps you just that process collectively agreed upon helps you distinguish from other band projects in the scene?
Well, I also wanted to touch base. I don't so like with the name, like if we did have to like do like put like Oklahoma underneath it, I feel like that would have happened because we are signed with Unbeaten Records based out of I think Albany, New York. Shout out, buddy.
Yeah, shout out, buddy.
Yeah, we're the one and only fucking song. But I don't really know. So like most of the songs, I feel like we wrote like this whole record in I think like 4 days time, and we had gone up to record with our friend Connor, who plays drums in Mugshot. And so we went up there with we had the demo for the Heaven to Hear Nothing. We've had that song written for, I think, close to like a year. Yeah. And then we had We All I've Known, and that came out as a single in like 2022, I think. But we ended up like scrapping it because we wanted to revise it for the record specifically. So Beneath the Surface, Certain Death, and then the Unbearable Form, those were all written while we were in studio, and we all like had a touch of like our own like taste into those tracks, you know what I mean? And Connor too, like he's a fucking like crazy like producer. Yeah. So he was locked in with us, like, you know, if me or Matt or Ty or Ernie came up with a fucking like guitar riff, Connor would take it and be like, well, let's try it this way, and then we'll try it y'all's way and see which one we all like better. And so we would spend like at least like 8 or 9 hours a day in his studio just fucking going in on it. But strategically for like the writing process, I don't know, I feel like we can write songs pretty fast for the most part. Yeah, it doesn't take us like a year to like write like new material. If we like have ideas, like we'll send them back and forth to each other, and most of the time like they just kind of like mold into like 1 or 2 tracks, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, Connor played a big part in the writing process for the record, and we all did as well. But yeah, shout out Connor. He fucking he made the CP like everything that we wanted it, and that I think he felt was like good. And like I'm happy that like we all are about to like release a product that like we're happy with, you know.
Oh, you're silent again, Sean.
Right. Okay. That's like the one thing I forgot to do. I think it happened earlier, but part 2 to that question too, like obviously you've toured with the bands that you have so far, and you've even headlined for an EP release show now with other Oklahoma local acts. So over the years, everybody's had their different musical tastes. They've had these bands that they inspire to. They've had these bands that help them push forward. They've had these beautiful people that also help them push forward, whether in the local scene, in their own personal lives, or elsewhere, right? So when it comes to writing, like what do you guys think helps you kind of distinguish from other bands that you've been touring with recently, or that you might even hope to tour with one day in the future?
Dude, I don't even know. I don't think we intentionally like set out to be different. Yeah, like set ourselves apart, so to speak. We just kind of write whatever comes to mind, and if we like it, we keep it, work with it. And if not, we just move on to something else.
Right. Fair enough.
It wasn't like necessarily intentional. You know what I mean? I don't.
And that's always good.
When I write, I try not to write shit that sounds like it's already been done. Yeah. But I mean, like, it's kind of hard when you write like beat down, like heavier shit, because I mean, it just all sounds the same.
Yeah.
But like, it's kind of hard to set yourself apart. But if like you can pull it off, then fucking, oh yeah, I guess.
It's just cool. We all have our own individual flares. Yeah, just our own styles and molding it together, like Scott was saying earlier.
Right. And I mean, if not that, of course, because that's a completely applicable answer. You're not exactly, you know, like, we don't sound like this, fuck you, but you're not exactly like, for fans of Spite, Kublai Khan, you know, that type of shit. Because usually it's one way or the other for certain folks. And there are plenty of other bands that I've had on the show before who have kind of attested to that same statement. It's like, well, we're not intentionally just like, fuck all these other bands, we're Cell, you know, that type of thing. But it's more like, well, what can we do that kind of makes an Unbearable Form in our previous material exclusive to Cell, right? Yeah. What makes it to where another band can be like, yo, they fucking ripped off our riff? It's like, dude, it's beat down, calm down. Like, you know, that's the beautiful thing about becoming a band, is that of course you can have that for fans of Spite, Kublai Khan, Body Snatcher, Orthodox, but overall it's not like you're any of those bands. It's not like you're a Kublai Khan cover band. You guys are attempting to do your own thing, but what I do like is that you seem to be embracing that for fans of Algorithm, instead of just being like, no, fuck you, we're like new metallic metal beat down, whatever.
You guys have your own thing. You have your profile. You have your impression upon the scene. And maybe some people are like, yo, this is like the Orthodox of Oklahoma or whatever. You're like, yeah, fine, whatever. That's fine. Because we love those guys. But you're not exactly adamant about having people in a chokehold when they make statements like that. Because I know plenty of bands who kind of do have that attitude. And I'm like, well, here's the thing. Like Tyler was saying, it's very, very hard to kind of distinguish yourself from other bands in your scene when people go to shows. Like, for example, the upcoming Common Enemies tour, which I'm definitely going to. I cannot wait to see you boys there in person once again, ripping the stage alongside acts like Psycho Frame, Gnosis, Throne, Spite, and Body Snatcher. That's going to be really, really awesome for you guys. I'm excited for that opportunity for y'all. But at the end of the day, it's like when you're depending on the tours that you end up jumping on, either you get on a tour lineup with Cannibal Corpse and they're like, okay, so this isn't exactly death metal, but this is still pretty heavy. This is cool. What is this band's name? Cell? Okay, let me grab some merch. Or you can be like, well, we're on the Common Enemies tour because we align with the same overall genre-ratic catering that the other bands do. We're still heavy as shit, but we're not exactly from the Golden State. You know, we're not exactly from the Golden Gate State. We are that band, but from Oklahoma, and we're proud of that. Like, we're, you know, you guys do all that you do for your local scene. So absolutely, that is an applicable answer. And I applaud you guys for, you know, more or less embracing that statement where other bands kind of have an animosity towards it. They're like, no, don't compare us to this other band, please. Like, we're our own people. And of course you are. But it's all about being open-minded and being willing to say, yeah, absolutely. This or this was inspired by Spite. You know, like, it's important to pay homage to those who came before, right? So I think with that being said, we can kind of move on from that question. Unless Finn, you had any other commentary to provide for their answer?
No, I think I'm all right on that.
Cool. So as we kind of conclude what was the first two clickbait questions, the two-part clickbait questionnaire for part 2 of the podcast, where we're kind of consulting the entire 5-person lineup of Cell as one person, right? Next, I think would be a great time to go ahead and go under the skin, do track-by-track lyrical analysis for their upcoming EP, An Unbearable Form. May I ask who was the primary lyricist for this EP?
I was.
Fantastic. Well, Skylar, if you can go ahead and come forward, and of course everybody else can provide commentary as well, but basically we'll be looking to do a brief track-by-track lyrical analysis bit. That way we can kind of get some more insight on this EP before it comes out, and day 1 of release, fans will have more insight upon what was going on in your mind at the time, lyrically speaking. So for starters, we have track 1 on Unbearable Form. Now, of course, we will get to that in a second, as there is the title track at the very end of the 6-track EP. If I may ask, let's go ahead and get into an imaginary scenario where you go into a library, right? You're not in a band, right? You're just going to a library to read a book, and you see, the album cover, the EP cover entwined on the hard case, right, of a book. You're like, okay, this looks weird. There's not even really a title, but at the bottom it says An Unbearable Form or something like that, and it has the Cell logo in the very bottom right corner, maybe like super, super small so you can barely see it, but it's still there for branding purposes. So with every book, right, you turn the book over and there would be a chunk of script on the back regarding what is the overall theme, or maybe the reason it is called An Unbearable Form on the back. If you could provide me a small excerpt, a summary of what that text would say on the back of the book.
I mean, it would probably just be for Clancy. The whole entire record was based around just like my dad passing away and the emotions that I kind of like leveled and went through that time in my life. So yeah, I would strictly probably just say for Clancy.
Fair enough. Okay. So quote for Clancy. All right. For Clancy. This book seems pretty interesting. So we open it up and chapter 1, more or less, would be, quote, the heavens
Hear Nothing. Let's go ahead and get kick started. Tell me what's going on lyrically speaking with this first track.
Yeah, so the Heavens Hear Nothing is that was one of the first like songs that I wrote after my dad passed away. It's pretty much just talking about like, I mean, the meaning behind it. It's like, you know, in that time, I mean, I questioned my religious beliefs pretty early in my life. There was a lot of things that I went through, like through my upbringing and my childhood and stuff that like was pretty like rough. And so I always questioned, like, if I'm going through this, like, why the fuck is God not like saving me? You know what I'm saying? Because every time you're in like a bad spot, everybody's like, if you just pray, it'll be okay. And for me personally, like, I tried that and it didn't work for me. And I grew up in like a Southern Baptist household. So I was at church every Sunday when I was a kid and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, that song is just talking about like, you know, the loneliness setting in of like my dad passing away, and like, you know, I'm like clawing at the fucking sky to like try and like, you know, get an answer, and like there's nothing fucking happening. There's nothing, like, you know what I'm saying?
Like you're kind of screaming out to the heavens in vain, for heaven hears nothing. And if there is a God, then he most likely doesn't care. You know, something kind of bold and emotionally charged in the moment, as we've all been in that type of moment.
Yeah, for sure.
Me personally, like religiously, I'm Ossature primarily. So I regard all religions like sports teams. And I'm like, okay, I mean, there are all these religions, and I'm not exactly going to bash people for believing in them. I'm not going to denounce them, because most likely all of the gods we understood at one point were actually just aliens, and they were depicted in correlation with the people of the region, of that region in the world, right? So like Norse gods, well, they drew them like Vikings, because they're like, well, we want Viking gods. Or Hindu, right? They colored and made visual their gods as Indian people, right? Same thing with God. And I mean, of course, me personally growing up, being raised Christian, but a very hollow version of Christian, where we very seldomly went to church, and really my father would condemn those who he did not prefer in his immediate life. Basically, that eventually transpired into, well, if God's the same way, then, well, quite literally, I have the same relationship that I do with my own father that God had with Lucifer. The moment that things went wrong, you know, it's my way or the highway, right? And then Lucifer was cast down from heaven. That's kind of the relationship I have with the Christian God. And even to this day, right alongside you, my friend, I always have the question in the back of my mind of how so many people are seemingly, and this is just my opinion, disclaimer, ladies and gentlemen, my opinion is that so many people are brainwashed still, and even blood washed, which basically means they were brainwashed through multiple generations to believe a certain thing, right? And for me, it's just baffling how many atrocities occur in the name of God, and like people will just easily dismiss it and be like, well, this is the way that the timeline was supposed to transpire, or some shit like that. And it just constantly baffles me. So absolutely, right off the bat, a great start to an EP centered around grief, centered around a very, very personal loss. And I'm sure you had a substantial relationship with your father, as you know, this is an EP concentrated with pain. It's an unbearable form to have experienced that loss in your life already. Like, I know it'll be the same thing for me when I lose my mom, or when I lose anybody from my mom's side, or even my younger siblings. Like, God, like the gods forbid, anything forbids that they pass away before me. It would be an unbearable visual form in my mind to have to take with me and carry with me the rest of my life. So great start. And I like that. I like the implications that this EP has so far.
Yeah.
Track 2 would be Beneath the Surface. What do we got going on here?
Beneath the surface lyrically.
Beneath the cervix? Is that what you just said?
That's a
And
rap.
that's why this is the anatomy podcast. We're about to get into the cervix, people.
Yeah, that song is just talking about like, through like time, like you obviously like learn how to like cope with like the loss and the grief of like a pretty heavy thing that's happening. So I'd be at like work, or I'd be with them or with my friends or whatever, and I'm like smiling and like I'm trying to seem happy, but beneath it is just like underneath my skin is just like it's pain and I'm hurting, and like it's just talking about like getting that shit no, like you can't really feel like what the fuck I'm feeling, even though I'm like trying to put on a face, you know what I mean, to kind of like keep the day like moving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's a perfect application really to the philosophy that comes with this song, the ideologies, the mental state that comes with the song as well. We're all trying to push forward, whether it be post loss, post grief, maybe even post financial demise, right? We're all trying to continue pushing forward. But at the end of the day, when you're with yourself, when you're alone with your thoughts at night, and you're preparing to go to bed, you're preparing to restart for the next day, as we human beings have to. We can't exactly just do a week without sleep, especially after something like that. It will actually physically destroy us.
Right.
We provide the image that we do, that we're still pushing forward, we're still going strong. But sometimes, as much as we all hate to be liars, that's not the truth. Beneath the surface is a lot of pain. It's a lot of misery, and it's a lot of just having to understand how to move forward despite what just occurred. So pretty surface level song, and it's pretty applicable to the idea, and therefore I do wholeheartedly believe that a lot of people will attach themselves to this song. And I remember it being a pretty groovy one. I remember it being an ass beater too. I mean, the whole EP is an ass beater, but this one, like you saw me, I was dancing around and shit.
Yeah, feeling it. Yeah, that's probably one of my favorite songs aside from Certain Death on the record.
Hell yeah. Well, with that being said, we have track 3, Certain Death. What do we got lyrically going on here?
It's talking about just fucking God up, bro. Like, if you're gonna take what I love, then I'm gonna take everything that you fucking love too, type shit. So yeah, it's just kind of like a face-to-face idea, just like me and God in a fucking room, yeah.
Maybe if death is certain for mortals, why isn't it certain for you?
Yeah, it's literally like, I mean, if you read the lyrics, like, it's just like I'm pretty much just talking about like fucking him up type shit. So
I mean, I would love to as well, to be honest. Let's all bring that Kratos energy to the table. Why don't we?
Bro, I'm on my Thanos shit, dude. Yeah.
Well, track 4, we have Bleed All I've Known, which is a very, very heavy track title. Like, god damn. What do we got going on here?
Oh shit, sorry.
You're good.
He
was waiting for my dialogue cue. He's like, okay, this is what's going on with this one.
Bleed All I've Known, that it wasn't written in the time that like all of that stuff happened with my dad. But it was still just like I was pretty like depressed when I wrote that. I was going through it pretty bad, and it's just talking about like, if like if I like bleed out, like everybody will be able to see like what the fuck is like going on. You know what I mean? Like in the blood, like they'll be able to see like the pain and the agony and shit that I'm going through.
They'll understand that you're still able to bleed, that you're still you're still feeling emotion, and not only that, but you're experiencing like at that time or in that moment, as this can be open to interpretation. Really, the song is like in the moment when you're feeling the pain, you can still bleed. You just prefer not to because you're so fucking exhausted from what you're dealing with at the time.
Yeah, for sure.
Hell yeah, dude. Well, track 5, we have A Light, Shine for My Existence. What do we got going on here?
There's no lyrics on that song, but that's just
right.
We that track specifically, I think it's a breath of fresh air. It kind of like calms everybody down for a second. When we were coming up with the idea for it, I wanted it to be something like that was initially the original idea was going to be a whole clean track that I was going to like sing on.
Ooh, okay.
Which we ended up obviously not following through with that because I tried singing in some spots and I was like, I don't want to do that. It doesn't sound that good.
Right.
We may do that on the LP, who fucking knows? But
you had to be an LP.
yeah. Yeah, like I just when we were talking about it and we were like, what can we do here? You know, when we wrote the Unbearable Form, there was obviously the chorus in it. So we were like, maybe we can like have something that will, if we put that to like chill everybody out for a second leading into the title track, it'll go back to that chorus because they're like the same notes and people will be like, oh, okay, I see what they did there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And was there anything visually you were depicting while writing this? Because I mean, even if there aren't any lyrics, there had to have been like some type of creative process to name it "A Light Shine for My Existence." So like, what were you boys picturing while you were writing this interlude, this brief break on the EP?
I think it was just really bright in the studio, and that's how I came up with the name.
Connor's dog hanging
Yeah, Connor's dog was down there hanging out with us. Connor had most of like the play in writing that. Like we all kind of like touched with it, but he was the one who like walked in and was like, "I'm gonna fucking make this." So yeah, when I came up with that title for the interlude, it was just like really bright, and I was tired, and I was like, "I'm just gonna write this."
Right.
So
That's sick.
Yeah,
I like that because it's honest. It's very authentic, and in the moment, it's present during what I can only assume to be the creative process for the rest of the EP. It's like, well, really bright in here, you know, maybe like in the moment you were like, well, it is very bright in here, and you know, shine for my existence. Fuck it. But like, you know, you were probably exhausted by this point in the creative process. So you're like, yeah, a light, woo, a light.
Yeah, I had been tracking vocals, I think, like for a few hours, probably. I think like before we were working on that, because I remember finishing the day, and that was like the last thing that we did before we all like got food and went to fucking bed. But
yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, I was just like, we were all like chilled out, calmed down. I had felt some relief because I was in the fucking studio just like yelling for a while. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, with that in mind, we have the final track 6 of this wonderful, meaty EP from the Oklahoma local Ass Beaters. Cell. I was about to say Oklahoma again. Jesus. So obviously, I had you provide the commentary that you already did regarding like why you ended up naming the EP An Unbearable Form. So was there any other commentary you were wanting to provide regarding the lyrical contents per se, or anything else that you didn't mention beforehand for the Unbearable Form?
Yeah. So like the title for the EP, I've obviously had in my notes for forever. Like I knew when we were gonna do a new record, that's what we were gonna call it. And I had like talked to Matt about it like a year ago, and he was like, "Dude, yeah, we're keeping that." So lyrically, like that song, like there's a in the chorus it says, "Watch as I fade, because it was always meant to be." So like everybody is gonna like slowly fucking fade off eventually in their lives, and I mean, as harsh as it is to hear you're born to fucking die, but you've got all this shit that you do like in the middle, you know what I mean? So
may I ask too then, is death the unbearable form?
The Unbearable Form, like it's, I mean, yeah, there's like in the artwork, like that's like meant to be just like there's like a face like molded in there, and like they've got like the eyes and shit, but it's pretty much like the idea that I had with that was like all of like my depression and my hurt and like my grief was just like full, like taking over me type shit. That was like the initial idea for the artwork when we were getting it done. So shout out Ringo for the artwork too.
Yeah, good shit.
Yeah. Yeah, the song's just like, you know what I mean? I'm going through this and it is what the fuck it is because I can't do anything about it. But because I'm gonna fucking die eventually too, But I just gotta fight like it. That's just how it fucking goes, and it's just like concluding in that time in my life, like everything, just like that's what I became for that part of my life. So.
Hell yeah, dude. Well, I do believe that will wrap up the Under the Skin session for Cells, the Unbearable Form, releasing, I think, on February 9th, this next Friday. So, that'll be the end of the Under the Skin session. And don't think I forgot about it. You mentioned an LP before. You're going to be going on tour soon, the Common Enemies tour, which I'm definitely going to be attending. So I look forward to getting all the cringe ass photos with you boys in person. Witness your set at the Nile Theater when you come through Phoenix. So what are you able to discuss regarding the LP and your plans for a full length? And will this be your first full length?
It'll be our first full length, yeah. We've just been so caught up with this release coming out. Obviously there's ideas that we've got kind of on the back burner that will probably turn into this a foundation of songs and stuff like that. We're probably gonna put it out next year because we'll write on this EP for 2024 and probably early 2025.
Fair enough.
But yeah, I've already got ideas lyrically. I have a rough idea of what I'm wanting to call it. So once we're able to kind of sit back and get back into the studio and start working, we're just gonna bust our ass and make something even crazier than what we are about to drop right now.
Hell yeah, dude. Finn, did you have any other commentary, any other questions you were wanting to ask before we go ahead and wrap up tonight's session?
No, not really. I had one question, and I wasn't really sure when to ask it. So everybody has got a pre-show ritual. Everybody's got one, as far as I know.
Yeah.
What is your pre-show ritual as a band collectively?
Like I said earlier, bro, we like to post up at the van and we'll all take a shot and chill for a minute before we go up. It kind of eases our nerves because it is nervous.
For sure.
We're so used to playing we've played decent sized venues before, but with the Spy tour we're going to be playing pretty big venues. And so we were talking about how nervous we were, but when I was talking to my girlfriend or my mom or my grandma or them, you know what I mean? We know we got that shit in the bag. And we're gonna give it our all, 110% every fucking night. Yeah, man. I like to shoot tequila and I like to smoke a cig right before we play. It chills me out. Ty likes to smoke weed. He'll hit a joint. He wets his hair. He's got this obsession with wearing a windbreaker every time we play.
Animal.
Yeah, he likes to do that. Ernie fucking likes to snack and flame a
Yeah, Ernie likes to eat 2 meals before we play. Yeah, shotgun's a C4.
Cam's normally there with me because he just recently joined. Last night was our last show with Joe, our old drummer. So that was pretty emotional too. It was fucking crazy ass show, but the times that Cam has played with us, he's out there smoking a cig and shooting a shot with me.
And that's perfect.
And hitting that motherfucking snare.
Okay, so you mentioned the tequila. So is there a specific tequila that you guys all end up drinking together, or?
Jose Cuervo, bro. Jose Cuervo. Fuck that, dude. Jose Cuervo all the way. Yeah, we do when we drink whiskey, we like Jim Beam too. I like Jameson, but yeah, Jameson's a shit.
Fuck yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Well, I do believe that will conclude tonight's session. I don't even know how long we went. It had to have been at least 2.5 hours by this point. But this has been the Anatomy Podcast, hosted by yours truly, Sean Cross and
Ben the Or King.
Yes, we hosted tonight the Oklahoma Ass Beaters Cell. And we not only did we host them, but we also listened to their new EP and the Unbearable Form coming out Friday, February 9th through Unbeaten Records. And let's just say this is a pretty beaten record because this collectively is an ass beater. And I cannot wait for everybody to hear it on public domain. Thank you, gentlemen, all of you, the entirety of the band, for deciding to take the time that you did waiting, basically, for us to get this podcast session started. It is really appreciated. And I will see you boys on the Common Enemies tour when you come through town. Was there anything else you guys were wanting to mention, shout out, promote before we conclude tonight's session?
I guess we'll go online.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, for
sure. First and foremost.
Yeah, absolutely.
Shout out to my grandma, Kathy. Shout out to my mom, Charlotte. Shout out my girlfriend, Des. I wouldn't be where I'm at without them and their support. Shout out to Steve-O, Colton, Jared, Troy, Trey, Bernie, Josh, all my brothers. Shout out Mugshot, Kaonashi, Mouth for War,
Last 10.
Travis. Shout out Travis Porter,
Right, yeah.
That's right, booking. Shout out Buddy, Unbeaten Records. Shout out Soto, Joe, Austin, Jason.
This guy has a fucking lineup. Let's go.
Dude, I fucking bro, my shit's there. Who else? Shout out Lucky Strikes. Shout out Jose Cuervo. Shout out Jim Beam. Shout out Tyson Babes. PBR. Shout out PBR.
Dude,
man. Let's go. That's like my favorite beer ever. That's like either that or Miller.
Yeah. I don't know what happened to this one, but the bottom's kind of blown out.
Dude, I will get some that are like that sometimes, but I think I'm sick of that. Shout out to Owen. Shout out Owen.
Shout out Owen.
Shout out Owen. Yeah, let's go.
LTD guitars.
Shout out to Montiel. Shout out LTE. Shout out Raising Cane's.
Yo, Bojangles is better, they're not gonna lie.
You said what?
I said Bojangles is better, not gonna lie.
I have not tried. Dude,
What?
I haven't tried Bojangles, bro.
What?
Yo,
What?
Rico, I forgot where I think we were in like Alabama, and this random local was like, "Oh, what are you guys doing after show?" We're like, "Oh, we're going to get food." She goes, "You ever had Bohanglies?"
Bohanglies, bro.
I was like,
Bohanglies?
She was like, "No, it's Bohanglies," and I was like,
It's fucking Bojangles. I don't give a
Yeah.
fuck.
Bushes is
That must
better
be-
than both of them, but that's a Texas thing. So.
Fair
That
enough.
must be that place where they sell chicken fajitas. What the jalapenos?
Bohanglies, bro.
Yeah, I personally think Popeyes is better than Cane's. I like Popeyes a lot. I don't know if you guys have those where you have.
Yeah,
So-
but those biscuits are so dry though.
Dude,
Those
I
biscuits-
don't. I fuck the biscuits, bro. I'm just saying the chicken sandwich and some fries and their mashed
Oh yeah,
potatoes.
no.
"Yo, you
The chicken slaps.
I could.
Yes, I fucking could.
Easy, bro. Easy work.
What the fuck is that? You know
I
who
mean,
am?
the chicken slaps, but I mean, if you gave someone one of those biscuits without like
they're
a drink with it, that's cruel and unusual
Oh,
punishment.
dude. Yeah, that's a punishment in itself. Ordering it, you may as well be fucked up in the head, bro.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I know people who will like eat the fuck out of them. They'll order like 2 or 3, and I'm like, fuck that.
Hell
bro.
yeah.
Hell
See, the only Popeyes
yeah.
I've been to, I went there 30 minutes before it closed. So, like, they fucked up my food and I had a terrible experience. I need to have a good experience with Popeyes. And until then, boys, it's Bojangles.
Yeah,
Church,
Hey,
That's fair.
just
if you
chicken.
go to Popeyes and you don't pull up to the like drive-through speaker and they're not like, what? Like, what do you want? They're not. It's not going to be.
It's
good,
gonna
bro.
suck.
They're being
Yeah.
nice, you know it's gonna
100%.
be shit, bro.
so if they're dicks, they're like, what the fuck do you want? Like,
Yeah, bro.
Yeah,
I'm like,
seriously.
hell yeah. Let me get it. Yeah.
I'll keep that in mind the next time I go to a Popeyes, gentlemen. But thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching over on YouTube. Next guest will be the Voynich Code from Unique Leader Records. Shout out again to the boys in cell for even joining. And everybody be sure to have a great night.
Oh yeah.
Hell
See
yeah.
ya.